secretary.
I'm not good at that.
All right, you're next.
Okay. It is 6:02 p.m. on June 16th, East Grove Greenscape Commission. I'm Kelsey Beal,
Jessica Humbright, Crystal Bright.
Liz Lamping?
and Anna Scare could not be here with us tonight. We don't have any guests. We do need to review and approve or not minutes from, somehow we missed February in the order of things, and then April and May. And we sent those out earlier. I read through them. I don't have anything. I don't know if anybody needs a minute to read through.
That looked good.
It's just that I was not here for the May, so just for formality, I can vote on February and April, but not May.
Okay. And May was that our tree planting?
That was the plan.
Yes. Our May meeting was the tree planting, which we can talk about later. Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve February and April.
Yes. I second.
Great.
Yes,
And then motion to approve May.
I second.
second.
Great.
And abstain, yeah.
And so, approved. And then the memorial tree update is what the tree planting I was just talking about that we planted in May. That is a memorial for Officer Elliott. We planted a red oak in Sarah Bolton Park at the cemetery area near the Veterans Memorial. Last year, they took out a big invasive tree of heaven there, so there's a nice spot for a big giant oak tree. It's doing great. It looks fantastic, and hopefully it stays fantastic for hundreds of years. We'll just keep an eye on it over the summer, but we've had nice amounts of rain and everything, so I think it'll be good.
It's a good reason to keep us around for hundreds of
Yes.
years.
It's great to like drive by the park and be like, there it is.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything from any other counselors about the plaque, or do you know anything
No,
about that?
the company, gosh, my brain, they're supposed to get back with me as far as the, I've got a way to pay for it. I mean, I've got plenty of donations coming that are willing
Yes.
to help pay for it. But Sutterfield's supposed to
Sutterfield's.
get back with me as far as the final cost of what it's gonna be,
Yeah.
so.
Speaking of donations, thank Promoters Club donated a ton of money, and then a couple private donors as well. So
Yeah,
that's for way more than the cost of the tree, and then also the rest will be going to the plaque that.
Nice.
So that was great. What else was I gonna say about that? If I know you guys all took some great pictures, and you're on the Facebook admin, could you make a post about it just to say, we did this on this day, and it was
Yeah.
great. It's a red oak. Like, be nice to it, and and then I know the city page will share it. It's fine to talk about here in the meetings, but I don't think we want to advertise too much that it's a memorial for Officer Elliott. I mean, we can say it's a memorial tree, but I think we just want to kind of just make sure we're not getting negative attention for, especially when it's little.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're
It's
saying.
big, you never know.
Protect it,
Yeah,
so it'll fight back.
yeah, give it a good start.
Yeah. Drop some acorns on your head.
And then the next thing on the agenda is to remove this, review this tree removal letter and this tag. So I'm sure you guys were all copied on the emails, but DPW, ever since we got the tree inventory, Tim Cochran is the new DPW director, and he's all in on GIS and like getting tree work done. He's excited about it, and took that top 10 list that we made and like ran with it, and I like kind of did like pleasantly surprised is awesome, but also kind of we didn't think far enough ahead, and so a tree was removed that was on that top 10 list. It was high risk and high priority for removal, and it was a pear tree growing around utility lines, but it was in front of somebody's house in the right-of-way strip. So they came home, and it was I don't know if it was already gone or it was being removed or whatever. There was no warning, no, you know, so that wasn't handled right. And they sent an angry email. So Anna and I met with Mayor Kaufman and Tim and the street commissioner. I forget his name off the top of my head. It's here. Sam Hurley.
Okay.
Just to talk about like how do we handle that situation and what do we do, and so Anna and I drafted just a letter, like we talked about it, like maybe for that instance when it's near someone's home, go ahead and send them a letter that just says, hey, this is a city tree, it's going to be removed, here's the ordinance, blah blah blah, you know, at least give them some warning, say why, like it either violates the ordinance or it's sick or whatever, and give them, they can look at the tree inventory here and there and whatever, and also since people don't really read their snail mail, we talked about maybe like tagging a tree or whatever. So Anna drafted up these, like a door hanger, but we were saying, you know, we could put one on the tree and one on their door, and it just says like, a tree near you is gonna, you know, and give them numbers to call and whatever if they want more information, so.
That's awesome.
I think
Yeah.
you guys were copied on this, but
Yeah.
I sent this stuff to the mayor and Tim, and we'll let them take it from there. But that's just kind of how we helped out with a little bit. Hopefully that'll at least take away the element of surprise.
Yeah, and then, and I don't, to keep it simple, but and if they have questions, we can let them know that we'll do our best to replace that. If it's a place that's a tree needs to be replaced, we'll replace it with the proper tree, or maybe not.
I mean, I think that is a case by case
Okay, case by case, so you can't make those promises.
In the ordinance, exactly.
Yeah.
In the ordinance, it does say that, I don't wanna mess up the exact language, but
Right.
basically, like, when the city removes a tree, within 1 year, we're supposed to replace it somewhere else.
Replace the tree.
It doesn't have to be in that
Yeah.
location, and, you know, as long as we're doing like a 1-for-1, we're good on the ordinance. Which, you know, we planted like 600 trees and with those trail projects, planted a bunch of trees. So like that really, we're really okay. That's really just there to make sure we're not just chopping them all down.
Because if that tree, part of that issue with that tree was because of power lines, utility lines, or whatever, then you can't just replace it with something that's gonna
Right.
be the same problem later on.
And that one specifically, there's overhead lines and then there was a lower one.
Okay.
And that pear tree was already growing over the lower, but, and there are other trees in that right-of-way strip under those utility lines,
Yeah.
but they're crab apples that will never get
Mhm.
tall enough to even come near those utility lines, so. But,
Yeah, can't make promises, yeah.
right,
Make the promise.
right. So, and I know the DPW is gonna just work through over time, like when he was saying those tree removals are great for them when they have like a gap in their schedule, like, well, we don't really have anything going tomorrow, and how do we keep guys busy and whatever, and it's something they can like get to it when they get to it. So, yeah.
Is there something that, if they call this number, the homeowner would have a say in what goes back in its place? Should there be an option of it going back in its place, something else going back?
I mean, there aren't many that would fall into this scenario, but I mean, everybody's free to express their opinion. The thing is, it's like city-owned trees,
Oh,
so.
right, so, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, I'm sure if somebody had a strong opinion, it would be listened to, and it's not gonna be like hundreds of people that this is gonna affect. It might be one a year.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But at least we have something in the way of like, how do we handle this in the
Yeah.
future, cause I did feel really bad.
Yeah.
That draft looks really good though, and I
It
think
does.
tagging the tree makes you get wiser, tag on that tree and then your door.
Yeah.
Because also the neighbors might care. Even
Yeah,
though you're not getting that letter, you
yeah,
know, and at least gives.
And it could be educational, so it's something to educate, yeah.
just like that, or
Mhm.
dog walkers, you know, checking stuff out.
Mhm.
It's good. Cool.
Um, okay, next on the agenda is the IRA grant stuff, so, oh gosh. This was, approved by the Board of Works on the 1st of June. Let's see, so, the city put out a, request for proposals for the rest of the, to use the rest of the grant money as planned for planting, I believe it's 50 trees, in those, underserved census
Good.
districts, as well as, updating any ordinances, or doing an ordinance review and a management plan, and community outreach, which, in this suggests working with us for Going Green in the Grove to kind of beef that up, have more educational materials. It's kind of open how that means, and that's where we'll have more say, but, developing a plan, like a planting plan for those plantings, actually implementing the plantings and, years worth of maintenance and watering. So, and this is not new stuff, but, I think Tim at the DPW did a great job of like making this very clear and outlined, the requirements. So the estimated cost was 86 grand. The contract was awarded in June, and then the final grant inspection report will be December of 27. So hitting this timeline was important. Some of these dates, fall tree planting window, that was outlined in the grant requirements. So, evaluation criteria, and he broke this down. I believe some of this was in the grant requirements anyway, so, we had 3, proposals come in: Davy Resource Group, EOCene, and Metric Environmental. And then, Tim Cochran asked Tom Hanna and myself to be like reviewers on that, and he made a nice clean like spreadsheet rubric to go, break it down into these categories and made it real simple to check through. Davy was awarded the grant, or the work of the contract. This is all very boring technical stuff. Yes. So we can go through what their proposal looked like. Davy Resource Group is a huge like national company. They have, they do all of this environmental work, and they bid on the tree inventory as well too, but, they also do like the planting part, the boots on the ground kind of part, and they'll do the maintenance, and they're equipped for that, like trees is what they do, so. Let's see. This is not gonna be exciting to just look at a bunch of text on the screen, but, they did, one of the things that stood out to me personally on this was that they will do, they have crews that do tree planting and watering and all of that,
Wow.
instead of like managing a separate contractor.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just showing up and being like, you did this wrong, you did that wrong,
Wow.
or maybe,
That's
it's not an
better
outside
oversight.
thing
Yeah.
there, it's
That's-
all, it's all under the same
Right,
contract, so that's good.
absolutely.
Assumptions. And they hit all of the rubrics, like to a T,
Good.
86,000. Their community engagement and outreach, I don't really know what that's gonna look like. It was kind of vague, but it seems like they'll help us. At some point, we'll talk to somebody. But it kind of seemed like they would help us develop like graphics and boards and like a booth or something like
Wow.
that. So, if we come up with some ideas before the next Going Green, we'll still do our tree giveaway, cause that's what we do, but, I didn't get the impression that they would like send someone out to teach about trees.
Then they take care of getting the actual tree to plant, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll source the trees. Personnel, project approach. So we'll start with the management plan and ordinance review, which is good. I know the tree inventory that we had done, his summary, he called it a management plan, but this is more like for the city, like looking at the next 5, 10 years, whatever, what do we need to do? A little more in depth. The tree planting and implementation. Native species only with strict limitations, so they can't plant any maples. That's part of the
Okay.
grant, thing. And again, that's only because we have met our quota on
Yeah.
maples and we're trying to diversify all the species. They'll hit the planting window of September 15th through December 1st of this year.
Wow.
Within prioritizing of planting within the CGEST designated areas, which are kind of, I don't know, I'd have to look at the inventory again, but like north of here a little bit and a little bit west. So we're on Main Street, north and west of Main Street. And then there's some over in those like industrial areas, like Bethel and stuff like
Yes,
that.
yes, yeah.
But there's some good open spots
Yes.
over here, like along the streets that would be great.
Yeah.
And I would like to, with the management review, just to back up for a second, like have them officially help us with like a species list, that like these are allowed to be planted and hopefully sometime get like some not allowed to be planted in beech grove on a list officially. And then the community engagement event. Consultant will collaborate with stakeholders involved in the annual Going Green in the Grove event to expand on tree-focused outreach and support event planning and facilitate. See, it's kind of big, jargony. I'll get to that. It goes a lot more in depth into their ordinance review, inventory update, which will be pretty easy because not a lot has happened. I mean, we just did that
Right.
inventory update, and I think there've been a few trees removed here and there, which I could point to on a map. And then I know DPW's, Tim's keeping track on GIS of what they're removing and all of that, so. And then post-planting maintenance, I believe it's 1 year, up to 12 times in 1 year. 12 times in year, let's see, anticipated watering frequency, 12 times in year 1, 9 times in year 2, and 6 times in year 3.
That's great.
Yeah.
Then do they take hold, I don't know the word is responsible, but do they, if a tree fails, do they replace it then? Or I just was thinking about that, I don't know. I'd have to go through and see.
Maintenance. Maintenance will include watering, mulching, weeding, pruning, and ongoing monitoring. A 3-year warranty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Trees lost due to non-anthropogenic causes. So if people come up and like break limbs and
Yeah.
kill it, then they're not replacing that. Vandalism basically will be replaced the following spring season.
Okay.
Replacement trees will not carry an additional warranty.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah, true that, yeah.
So that's pretty exciting.
We don't currently have a contact person there, do we?
The city might, I haven't heard anything. It would probably be, I mean, Tim would know more. But since this was just awarded 15 days ago, it's
Right, yeah.
yeah. And even the planting window starts in September, so but that should be no problem for
I would guess if
Davey.
we went back and watched the meeting, whoever,
It was the Board of Works.
but no, whoever from Davie, was there anyone from Davie there to speak at the meeting that night, or they just had
They
the
didn't,
minutes?
if
Was-
they were, they didn't
There
speak,
wasn't anybody in
because I
person.
watched
Okay.
it online,
Okay.
but I didn't attend.
No one came to the meeting, okay, thanks,
I just saw up here on the camera, so.
I mean, it sounds like from the agreement that they're gonna be pretty involved anyway, so.
Yeah. And, this is just like what Davy does for,
Yeah.
like, this is their business, so they're very familiar with these grants and getting, you know, I think it'll be great. Trees of the USA is just on there, just as a reminder. We'll file for that in November and we will crush it again.
Absolutely.
Roundtable.
I had, a resident citizen asking about different types of trees and was talking about even putting fruit trees and that type of species of trees in and around the city. Is that ever something that's been looked into or done in communities? I don't know, I mean, when I think of fruit trees, I think of an orchard and something that's gonna give you, you plant them there for a reason. You plant them there, you know, to
Yeah.
to harvest the fruit, but I don't know what kind of a fruit tree would be
I'm
beneficial
sure you guys
for.
can speak to this too, but, that gets brought up a lot when people are like, oh, we
Yeah.
have all these people who need food and why don't we plant fruit trees? Fruit trees are pretty high maintenance
Mhm.
and pretty messy, and
Mhm.
you need,
Mhm.
pollinators, you
Mhm.
need pesticides,
Mhm.
they get funguses, they
Mhm.
drop fruit that rots, they're
Mhm.
like, they're not,
Bees,
Attract bees, yeah.
it's not the utopia we wish it would be.
Mhm.
Plus
It's-
they need pruned,
Mhm.
talking about other stuff, so.
And
That's-
like, I have apple trees in my backyard, it
Mhm.
grows apples about this big
Mhm.
and they taste awful. Like, like, it just takes a lot to get a good fruit from a tree. So it's not impossible, it's just not,
It would have been done, I guess, if that would have been something that, for the benefit of a community, for urban, that type of development, would have already
Right.
been addressed. Somebody would have found a way to already been accomplished that somehow.
yeah. I think, and like you were saying about an orchard,
Yeah.
if there were like a plot of land where you could have a
Yeah.
bunch of them,
Mhm.
and they're not gonna get road salt and, you know, air pollution and water pollution, you know, like, it's just,
Yeah.
do you wanna eat that fruit if it's growing on the side of Ninth Avenue? Like, I don't know.
Well, Bloomington's got a community orchard, I mean, if we were gonna do something like that, I mean, that's that's the way I would steer rather than just on the sidewalk. I think where I've seen it
Right.
successful in like documentaries and stuff is
Mhm.
like, you know, the person farmed their yard and they
Right.
just happened to have fruit trees out front and it, you know, they were just
And
giving
they
it to the
share.
people. And they cleaned up
Right.
and they
Right.
sprayed it and they took care of the trees, so
Well, I
as
mean,
a
I
public,
just-
like, whose problem is it?
And I just know the orchard space that we had as kids growing up, it was the care and the extra, the benefit of it was worth it, but I just know the extra work and everything that my dad had to put into
Yeah, it's a job.
the TLC.
Yeah.
TLC, exactly, yeah,
And
The bee stings.
right.
not to mention the goats getting in there without your knowledge and they get the bloat.
Oh.
Yeah, just other things.
As dog walkers, we were looking at the oaks that did not come back on Main
Mhm.
Street. I'm assuming there's a plan in the coming years to replace some of those.
Yeah, I would love to, I've been looking at those too, there's some across the street here in Down that there's good looking, a little iffy, yellow,
Yellow,
a little iffy,
yeah.
so like something happened in there, maybe a fungus or whatever, but then also if you look at the base of them, they've never been mulched.
Okay.
They're like this high out of the ground, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
there's,
The tree roots are showing above ground on these, on this
Mhm.
side that I saw, and they didn't donut the.
right.
it was
That's
just
another
when they
thing
planted.
from the volcano mulching is like, it'll start to put out roots up here.
Yes,
And
yeah.
so, I mean, I think we could propose that they at least get mulched and try to, try to donut mulch and, you know, try to remediate,
That 3-year plan, that,
yeah.
of the new ones, yeah.
Well, and that's something, you know, what is the group that does the landscaping? Wild
Oh,
Ridge,
No,
yeah, like that could be added to their,
Mhm.
just mulch those trees, please.
Yeah.
You know, like include that in the city contract. Um, even if they did it once every 2 years, but I mean, it couldn't be that much to mulch them at the very least, but, maybe like wild babies in town for the next year or so, like that could just be added, like, cause I know there are like fertilizer treatments and chemical things that can be, you know, they can be saved sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
not
I'm sure
that-
the yellow ones can.
Yeah, I'm not savvy on tree diseases and stuff like that, but, yeah, I mean, as the Greenscape Commission, that's our, our work.
Okay. I did notice on the, in the orchard along the trail, I've been on the bike trail twice. It's crushing.
Good job.
But I thought they did pruning in the orchard, and then I'm thinking maybe they pruned somewhere else, and they took those prunings and mulched with those prunings, and I thought that was great, so shout out DPW for using that mulch
Smart.
to help
Yeah.
cover
In the
some of those
orchard, you
roots.
mean like behind the school, where it's like
Yeah,
grid?
yeah, yeah, it's
Nice.
nice down there. I was like,
I haven't
all
been back
that,
there in years.
did all that fall off the tree? And then I was like, is it, no, that's not the same leaf as the tree has, so,
That's really smart.
yeah, just to cover
Asked
some of
about
those
that.
bare roots out there.
Yeah.
It's looking really green in there.
Make notes. Where are those that didn't come back?
There are two for sure. There's one on this side of the street.
Like on the
Maybe,
city hall, on the north?
yeah, is it maybe a
north?
block down? I thought they were were they right next to each other? Maybe they were right next to each other. Or were they back this way? I'm not sure. They're on this side of the street within a couple blocks.
Okay. You know, there was one, this house right next to City Hall, their tree in their yard got diseased, and it's gone now, so,
Oh.
and I wonder if like something spread. It's on the City Hall side? Like this
Yes.
north side?
Yeah. Cause it made me notice the yellow ones across the way.
Mhm.
Thanks.
And that also, I noticed, well, I'm sure you've seen the emails, people asking like, hey, is this, who could take care of this or whatever, I've been like looking at the ordinance and, just get it in our head. This dead or diseased flora on private property, it does say, you know, we're looking after public property trees in the right of way, but the Greenscape Commission and/or Department of Public Works shall have the right to cause the removal of any dead or diseased flora on private property within the city, when such flora constitutes a hazard to life and property, or harbors insects or disease which constitute a potential threat to other flora within the city. The Department of Public Works shall notify in writing, blah, blah, blah. So basically, if we know, even if it's on private property, if it's dead or, somebody
Could
wrote in
fall.
their neighbor's tree was laying on their power lines and all of that, and so, if that ever comes up, the Department of Works sends the letter to them. It's basically, it's kinda like a compliance letter, like you have 60 days to deal with this, or you're gonna get a fine, or what is it?
Do they ever manage that, they can't go on private property, that they can manage anything that comes outside? That do they put the cost, do they send, I don't know if they send a bill back to the homeowner if they have to do any type of property or managing of that, but I don't,
They won't do anything on private property
I didn't know.
because of legal,
Right,
but they can order it,
Yeah.
that the homeowner has to take
Has
care of
to
it
take care of
because it's a danger to
Yes, the
life or
hazard.
property or whatever,
Yeah.
so, just to like review, that's where we fall on the private property, public property thing. And apparently, we'll go through this when Davey does his review, but, it shall be unlawful for any person to plant any flora on or any part of public street, alley, avenue, right of way. So it's technically unlawful for people to plant in the right of way strip, without the approval of the Greenscape Commission first applying and procuring a flora encroachment permit. Like, I didn't know that was a thing, so, I don't know when the last time that happened
Yeah,
or whatever, I
no
know.
idea, yeah.
There's some stuff on my street that I can see, like my neighbors just like, oh, I'll put a little something here,
Yeah.
but, so,
Mhm.
I don't know, just interesting. Like,
And
who's
who
getting a
regulates-
flora encroachment permit, and is that on us to,
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that,
yeah.
we can review that when the time comes.
Oh, yeah, they could be compared to what other communities do. I'm sure David would know how other communities manage such things. And again, would depend on who's going to
Manage
manage
that.
Yeah, who's gonna report it, or, I guess, sort of citizen walkers or something, I don't know,
Yeah. So, yeah, I've been really, I look around and I walk my dogs and
Mhm.
stuff, but I also don't want to be just ordering everybody to remove their trees.
Right, right.
Like, it's expensive.
Yes, it's amazing how they will sprawl out in one season. I didn't get mine trimmed the way I wanted to last year, and I don't know if it's because I'm more attentive to their sprawling limbs, but I'm going, oh my gosh, I should have gotten you trimmed last year. It's amazing how fast that honey locust will just sprawl those.
And I've noticed this year, just because of all that rain we got, like, oh, all of my plants are like growing into each other. Oh, I guess I haven't been watering enough for years. 'Cause everything's huge this year.
Well, in the natural cycle, the rain, water itself, and the nutrients versus
Versus hose water.
hose water.
True,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
so yeah, they naturally can be bigger.
Yeah.
It's everything, I'm like, I gotta
Or
start
maybe
splitting everything,
Yeah.
pruning.
Very good, exciting stuff, so that,
Yeah.
the grant's doing its thing then, right?
Yeah.
It's
Pretty
Good.
awesome.
It's pretty awesome, yeah.
We'll have to look for more grant money.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to finish this grant before we start another endeavor.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a real gift.
Big time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you have anything else? Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
Noted. Motion to adjourn at 6:35.
perfect. Make a motion.
All right, the end.
The end.
Wait, our next meeting is July 21st
Okay.
at 6 p.m. right here in City Hall.
Oh,
There it is.
here. It feels like when